going into next year, Mo, what do you see from your Chicago Bulls? Is it more of what we saw last year, or is it a little bit closer to what we saw 2 years ago?
Um, so going into last season, obviously I was optimistic because we had just come off of that playoff loss against the Milwaukee Bucks. I didn't take that too harshly, especially because we had taken a game off of them. But then when we went into last season and we just completely shit the bed for a good 2 months into the season, I was ready to blow it all up. I was ready to call it quits because I was just tired of losing, and I was even more tired of mediocrity, and that's what we ended up getting at the towards the end of the season. Instead of being a bad team, but I'd almost rather be a bad team to be mediocre. Uh, what some things I did notice at the very tail end of the season, we started to pick up our play. I felt like we played a lot better than we did in the beginning of the season. That's also we started to stack wins, and eventually how we ended up, landing that play-in spot. I believe maybe the Pacers had taken a nosedive and ended up dropping out of the play-in completely. So, you know, credit to them for sucking worse than us. But going into this season, if I'm being optimistic, I'm going to say it's going to be a better season than last season. Now, granted, better than bad is a whole range of things. Could be good, could be mediocre, could be slightly above average. But I'm hoping that we could at least make the playoffs. Again, that's kind of asking for the bare minimum, but I'll take what I can get at this point. I want us to make the playoffs. I want us to be competitive. I want us to be somewhat decent, somewhat watchable. Um, do I think that's going to happen? I'm going to be optimistic and say yeah, but obviously I can see it going the opposite way and us completely falling out the playoffs. And in which point we'll know that this experiment, if we couldn't see, from the previous iterations of it, it's this experiment is just not going to work. So hoping we don't see more of the same from last season. And I hope we get something new.
You can tap in, Gabe.
Listen, I don't know if we're gonna see a whole lot of something new, but what I do know is a year from now, I like where they're at. And here's why. What they did this offseason, I think, was smart. Are they gonna get that much better immediately? No. Will they still be kind of competitive? Yeah. But here's the thing. After next season, DeMar DeRozan, off the books. He's off the books. The extension they gave Nikola Vucevic, 20 mil. We just talk about these new contracts all the time of people making so much money. 20 mil, really not that much in the grand scheme. A very movable contract, something you can flip for a lot of different guys. And these pieces that kind of lock them into this older future, this we're going to try to compete as much as possible, but not being good enough to actually do so, that kind of roster structure overall, they can get out of that. And so they can take this season and say, hey, things are going really well. We might rock with it. But they also put themselves in a position where, hey, we kind of screwed up. We kind of put ourselves into this position where we're just going to be a little bit mediocre for the next couple of years. But now after next year, they can really get out of that, and not locking themselves into that long-term direction was honestly good for them. Because now, if they get halfway through next year and they're just really bad, maybe they trade one of these guys that are expiring. Maybe they start to blow it up a little bit early. They can go out, maybe acquire some picks, try to salvage kind of those picks that they lost with the whole Magic deal, and start to get this thing back on track. Now, do I think that even competing next season is the best idea? I don't know. Will it put butts in seats? Maybe. Will it make Bulls fans want to rip their hair out a little bit less? Maybe. But at the end of the day, I think it's far from the worst place they could be.
Gabe, but before we get anything else, I'm gonna tell you right now, it's not gonna put butts in seats because butts were gonna be in seats anyways. We are unfortunately too loyal of a fan base to know that our team sucks so much that we probably shouldn't be buying tickets. And I'm guilty of this because even if they suck next year, I'm gonna try to go to a game because, hey, that's just how it is.
The UC is always packed. Like it's been that way even back when Jim Boylan was the head coach. Like the UC was still packed every night. So, I mean, the Bulls
Not
could
necessarily
definitely
something I'm
be
proud of.
facts, but the Bulls could definitely be worse off. I would say, like we've seen teams like over the past like 5 years or so be like super stuck in directions and not want to choose out of it. I don't think it's that bad because, like Gabe said, there are some contracts that are expiring, next off season. So they're not really like committed to just this core, even though it kind of seems like that's what they try to do, like extend the Vucevic and stuff. But I don't think it's all that bad, man. And I like how you brought up Mo, like the back half of last season after the trade deadline. Really, when Patrick Beverley got to the team, like it just seemed like there was a different type of intensity on both ends of the floor. The Bulls definitely played a lot better.
For
Zach
sure.
LaVine got better as the year went on. Like it wasn't as kind of they were struggling that early on in the season, but it really picked up back half. Almost got into the playoffs. They were up like double digits against Miami in that second half, so they were right there on the doorstep, right? But the only tough thing is the Eastern Conference just continues to get better. And I don't know if the Bulls really got that much better in the offseason. I like the Javon Carter move. Like giving up Patrick Beverley, bringing him in, I think is a pretty good like swap, pretty much. So I do like that move. But I mean, other than that, it's really about its health with this team. And obviously Zoe's not going to be there this season. So guys are going to have to step up. You want to get another really good year out of LaVine. I still expect DeMar to be how he's been. The year he had when he first got to Chicago was amazing. But if he's like somewhere in between that and where he was last year, I think that's fine for DeMar DeRozan at this point in his career. You would like to see Vucevic step it up a little bit, especially getting that extension. Just all the assets you gave up for him, you like to see him just step up a little bit more than what he has been like the last year and a half or so. But it's tough to say like if the Bulls will like really be competing for the playoffs because like you said, it can be better next season, but better could also just be them being a back half playing team like they were this past season, just because of how good the Eastern Conference is. So, like the Pacers are going to be better. There's other teams that have improved, like the Magic. We expect them to maybe make a little bit of a jump. Like that bottom half of the East got a lot better. How will the Bulls fare? It's really to be seen. It's going to rely on the guys that they're paying all that money, LaVine, DeRozan, Vucevic, and we'll see how Billy Donovan can handle things. I know Bulls fans are probably out on him, at this point, but, we'll just have to see how just things shape out for them. I mean, it's just been tough. Like the Zoe injury is just something that we're going to really look back on and be like, damn, like what if he could have just been healthy? The knee wasn't that bad because, it wasn't that long ago when the Bulls were like one of the best teams in the Eastern Conference for like the first 45, 50 games in the season.
Memories, man.
The greatest half-season stretch in Bulls history.
I went to a game that season too. It was litty, man.
Those are fun times. Zoe was looking really good in a Chicago jersey. And one day, hopefully, we see him back. I hope for all of our sake, Bulls and NBA fans alike. But shout out Jay for tuning in here. This is them getting bounced in the play-in, I assume, Jay, not making the play-in, just to clarify. But yeah, I like it. I like a lot of the points you guys are bringing up.
Hey, to be fair, the Knicks are probably the better team. I mean, they were last year.
Yeah, but like he's a Knicks fan, so like who cares?
I do have one question for you because we know the Bulls next season they're going to be what they are, probably pretty similar to what they were last year. But going forward, how satisfied are you with Zach LaVine being the guy going forward? Because assuming he picks up that player option, he probably will. It's like $50 million. He's going to be on the roster through 2027. Are you happy with that?
Man, I've wanted him to continue to be the guy, and unfortunately, with us getting DeMar DeRozan, it seemed like he's taking a step back on the team in general. I don't know why. That was a very interesting choice, especially seeing as Zach was, in my opinion, when DeMar was on the Spurs, Zach was the better player. Obviously, we saw what happened that season, and I wouldn't really argue that Zach was better than him that season. But, coming into last season, even after the season that DeRozan had, I still wanted Zach LaVine to, be the one that is taking shots at the end of the game. I wanted him to be the number one, not the number 1B or the number 2 in the offense. So am I content with that? Honestly, yeah, I am. It's all about, I think, continuing to put trust in Zach LaVine because, again, I got his jersey in my closet. I don't got a lot of people jerseys in my closet, like for real. So I got faith in Zach LaVine, and I want Zach LaVine to be, the franchise player for us, as he's basically filled that role ever since, post Jimmy Butler, post D Rose. So through 2027, fuck it, let's do it, bro. I'm all in on Zach LaVine, bro. I'm not switching up on my guy.
So what would you say is the best way to build around him then? Because you look at him and he is 28 now, and you're thinking, okay, with this core of him, DeMar, Vucevic is probably not working out, probably not going to get you guys to being an actual contender. So how do you think you continue from there and build successfully around a guy who's already 28? Because if you're thinking draft, he's probably going to be like, 32 by the time drafted guys are ready to really contend. So what do you think is the best plan there?
So with that, for the future, DeRozan and Vucevic, neither of them can be on this team. If we want to keep Zach LaVine and he's the guy, neither of them can be on this team. That's no shade to either one of them, especially not DeMar, considering what he's done for us in the short time that he's been here. But the experiments just don't work. The ball is there's only so much. There's only one ball. There's only so many touches people can get. I don't like the split of touches that I've been seeing. I feel like DeMar's been getting the ball way too much. There's been points where Zach LaVine just feels like he's just not within the offensive system. I've seen multiple possessions go by without him getting the ball. He parking his ass in the corner, no movement from Zach LaVine, who's a fantastic off-ball player. There's no plays being ran for him. It's just it's a lot of stuff that I just don't like. And part of that is on Billy Donovan. A big part of that is on Billy Donovan. I do not like Billy Donovan. That secret extension that the Bulls handed out, that secret extension that Jerry Reinsdorf's greedy ass handed out, nah, bro, that shit was not it. And honestly, once that news broke, I already knew it was over with for that next season because I don't understand how you look at Billy Donovan as a coach, see him coach your team and be like, yeah, that's the guy I want coaching my team after all the bullshit that he's put this Bulls roster through, whether that be Zach LaVine not getting the ball when he's clearly the best offensive player on the team, whether that be icing Zach LaVine's minutes when he's hot, whether that be Patrick Williams not starting and starting Patrick Beverly over him, or even before that, starting Alex Caruso over him, which credit to Alex Caruso, he's a fantastic defender, but he's not a power forward. What are we doing, bro? I went on a Billy Donovan tangent. That's crazy.
That's exactly
I hate
what
that man, bro. I do not like that man.
Listen,
but back to the question: how do you build around? DeMar, Vucevic, they can't be on the team. I like what we have in Patrick Williams. I also like what we have in Kobe White. Very happy we extended him. We need somebody who, honestly, if we pair somebody up with Zach LaVine, because if we want to make it to contention, we're going to have to pair somebody up. It's going to be somebody who can have the ball in their hands. And Zach LaVine, his best role is played when he's playing off the ball, when, plays are drawn up for him and stuff like that. So we get somebody who can, score with the ball in their hands. We get a decent shot blocking, rim protecting center and not a scoring center like Vucevic. Upgrade our point guard play slightly, whether that be if Lonzo coming back or, actually getting a better point guard through free agency, stuff like that. And then I say you got yourself a good foundation around somebody like Zach LaVine.
Very valid. It's definitely a good argument. I think, like you say, Zach's definitely not been put in the best positions to succeed over the last year or two. So that's definitely a good way to go about it. Another question I want to ask you is a little bit more niche to the Bulls and maybe more diehard Bulls fans or Bulls fans in specific, but are you surprised that Javonte Green hasn't been re-signed, and then in turn with that hasn't been signed at all yet by anyone this year?
I really, really wanted us to re-sign Javonte Green. I feel like he was one of those impact play during the time where the Bulls were their best over this stretch that we've had DeMar DeRozan. He was a very, very high impact player for the amount of minutes that he was receiving. On Bulls broadcast, one of the things that Stacey King was saying, it felt like it's 5 Javonte Greens out there, and that was dead ass how it felt. You know what I'm saying? We were saying it on Bulls Twitter. Obviously, you guys would know about that because you're not Bulls fans, but that was a common thing. We saw the value in Javonte Green. How nobody else has saw the value in Javonte Green, hey, maybe they just wrote him off because he was a part of a Bulls team that sucked, but he was a contributing piece to that team. We did suck, but he was one of the bright spots on that team, and it was unfortunate that he didn't get to play a lot last season due to injury. That may be why We didn't extend him, and that may also be why other teams haven't reached out and extended him an offer yet. But Javonte Green is a very good NBA player, and he should be on the NBA roster for sure.
Yeah, I liked him in Boston. Like, he didn't even get like a ton of minutes, but he was still, every time he touched the floor, he's productive, and he was great for the Bulls, up until like he was getting injured and stuff. But the fact that he's not signed is kind of crazy because there's a lot of teams that could use some wing depth. And
Sure.
he's not like a world class wing or anything, but he's somebody that can give you like 10, 15 good minutes, very solid minutes. So I don't understand why he's not signed either.
Even with the minutes that he was playing, he was largely playing out of position. He's only 6'4", so and we was using him at that wing position. He was playing it well, but I don't know any team that might need another size wing. I guess you know what I'm saying. He was a hell of a rebounder as well. If you wanted to pick him up and have him, be more of a guard defender, perimeter defender, you could do that as well. He's like a 6'4" lob threat, which is always nice to have. Backdoor cuts, he liked to do stuff like that, like to grab rebounds that he probably shouldn't, but he do it anyway just because hustle stuff. Just the little things. He's one of the dudes that you would really appreciate having on your team, and you probably wouldn't notice unless he was on your team. So yeah, for sure, Javonte Green, he got my stamp.
All right, so I gotta ask. This is probably gonna be the last year of this Bulls core trying to contend together. I think the way the contracts are set up is really pointing towards that.
Contend.
If be a competitive team, I guess is a better way to phrase it. But if everything goes right, if all these players play up to fruition, they're all healthy, everything goes pretty much as well as it could, what is the ceiling of this Bulls team, do you think? Because personally, I probably have that as like a 6-7 seed.
So you said ceiling, and I'm going to assume best case scenario, Billy Donovan pulls his head out of his ass and makes Zach LaVine the primary scoring option in the offense. DeMar takes a lesser role in the offense, sacrificing, just for the betterment of the team. Javon Carter comes in, has an impact, doesn't forget how to shoot because he put on a Bulls uniform. Patrick Williams continues shooting 40% from three, playing good-ass defense. Kobe White improves his scoring, improves his efficiency, improves a little bit as a defender. Andre Drummond has a big season for us off the bench. If all of that goes well and Billy Donovan coaches up a storm and he's like actually a decent head coach next season, our ceiling is probably like a 5 seed. I'm going to be honest. I don't see us contending with the big dogs in the East, which is very, very funny because if you guys remember, during that season when we were a 1 seed for a good portion of the season, we didn't beat any of the best teams in the league, much less the East. And then last season we was like, I think we 2-1 the Celtics. I think we beat the Bucks. I know we beat the Sixers. We got blew out the next night, but I know we beat the Sixers. And Joel Embiid had like a crazy win streak against the Bulls. We snapped that. It was a very weird season. Last season we couldn't beat the bums. We was getting like gamed by the Magic and shit like that. Just oddities. But yeah, 5 seed, and that's being super, super optimistic.